This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Now, Saturdays are my Hobbit days. We're making progress, slowly but surely. Hello friends, good morning. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaelyn. I am a fifth-year PhD candidate in History and African American Studies at Yale University. And while writing my dissertation, I am working full-time as a product manager for a startup, and I make content. So today I'm taking you along for a day in my life. My partner is out of the house today, which means that I have the opportunity to unabashedly yap at the camera all day long. So this is gonna be a very chatty vlog because I haven't had a chance to just talk about what's been on my mind recently, and I really love opportunities to vlog when nobody else is around. Come along, we're gonna go ahead and make a matcha. We have about 20 minutes until my first meeting of the day, so we're gonna make up a little bit of breakfast, have matcha, get the day started. Just finished my first meeting of the day. It was more of a collaboration session with Nathan. We are currently in the process of reworking the Life Productivity System course for Productivity Lab, and we are planning on selling it as a separate course that can be purchased on its own. But we're doing a little bit of reworking because we're essentially trying to separate the course for how to determine the vision that you have for your life and have that be in alignment with the goals that you want to set. And then secondly, we're going to create a course on task and project management. And that's one that we haven't fully designed yet, but I have some thoughts on, and I will be involved in the filming of and all of that. So I got to hang out with Nathan for a little while, but that interrupted my morning flow because I stayed in bed a little bit later than I normally do. I have been the 4 and 5 a.m. gal for a little while now, except for when we went off to the company retreat. And basically ever since that point, my just kind of internal clock has just been way off. And with the nights getting longer and the days getting shorter in the UK, I really feel like I need to reassess my routine, because getting up at 4 or 5 a.m. was not a big deal when, you know, the sun would rise an hour or two later. Because the sun doesn't really rise until about 8 a.m. now, that becomes much more difficult. And even with daylight savings and all of that, I just know that working on the dissertation first thing in the morning is just going to be really difficult. And this is when it's really important to be flexible. One thing that I talked about in that no sacrifices video is basically just figure out like what your body is trying to tell you and follow what it needs. And right now I know that when we head into the winter, my body just needs more sleep, and I need to be able to sleep in a little bit more, just because waking up and forcing myself to get out of bed and go and do things when there is absolutely no light out is just particularly challenging. I don't find it challenging in the summer, but I find it almost impossible in the winter. I am actually going to go and work out my ideal week, so I'll just share that with you. All right, so here I have my calendar. I currently use Notion Calendar and I absolutely love it. And I'm gonna go ahead and just close out all of my other calendars for right now. So that way I just see my personal calendar. So I have my ideal week and I adjust this whenever it feels necessary. And right now it feels particularly necessary. So each day I normally would pick 2 things that are the focus. So Mondays are focused on work and dissertation, and I add emojis to everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little cap and the emoji that we use for productivity lab. So as you can see, now I have my work day and dissertation days on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Fridays are just for work. I don't do any dissertation work on Fridays. Beautiful, and we need to make that repeat every week. Now, Saturdays are my Hobbit days. If you watched my No Sacrifices time management video, you know what that means. But essentially it means that I have time on Saturdays that is just time for me and to spend time with my partner. So I call them Hobbiting days because there's no structure to it. I don't have a plan. It is just for the sake of enjoyment. So that's every week on Saturdays. And then Sundays are friends and dissertation days. Perfect, and that's going to repeat every week on Sunday. Currently, I have it relatively set out the way that I would, except for that 4:30 a.m. dissertation writing. It's not gonna happen. That's just not going to be feasible. And so what I'm going to do is adjust the plan a little bit. So I go to the gym after work. We're gonna not go on Wednesdays. We're gonna go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Go ahead and adjust that. And then after work is a dissertation day on Wednesday. So dissertation, and that is when I will join the writing group for Acceptance Society. On the weekdays, what I do find is that I can get up relatively early on Mondays and Tuesdays, but then I am kaput by Wednesday. So we're gonna go ahead and adjust this, and I'm gonna say maybe instead we'll go to the gym Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. So Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. That's 4 days a week. I would love to be working out more, but I'm just gonna be realistic with myself and say that there needs to be a little bit more adjustment for more time to sleep. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the gym yet again, and then I'm gonna go ahead and make my dissertation day repeat on Wednesdays and Thursdays after work. I tend to try to avoid doing dissertation work after work just because my brain tends to be a little bit more tired, but at this moment in time, I think I really need to prioritize sleeping. And so I'm gonna wake up a little bit early on Mondays and Tuesdays. And what we'll do is we'll put in a 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. block for the dissertation. Now, that being said, there are times when I'm going to need to do more dissertation work and it's going to need to take up more time in the day. It just varies. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's Monday and Tuesday. That would only require me to wake up at about 6:30 on Monday and Tuesday, so that's fine. And then I know that I have a little bit more of a reprieve on Wednesday and Thursday. So this is just making adjustments based on the things that our body needs. Then let's look at the weekend. So the weekend, hobbiting time on Saturday with London Boy. I have the morning to spend with my friends, and then we're gonna go ahead and change content work to dissertation on Sundays. Now, I recently hired my editor back, and it has been so insanely helpful because basically I just need to make time to film, and that is best done like during my lunch breaks and things of that nature. I have my time on Sunday to be with my friends in the morning, to work on my dissertation in the evening or afternoon, and then I have time to recharge and reset for the week ahead. So that's essentially my ideal week. As you can see, for work, I don't have meetings on Mondays, Thursdays or Fridays. I only have them on Tuesdays and Wednesdays if I can, just so that way I can set boundaries around my work, so that way I'm not getting into the weeds and getting stuck, and instead I have a little bit more time to focus on the bigger projects that I have to get done. So this feels much better, and basically I'm just going to adjust my schedule going forward based on these guidelines. All right, now that we got that sorted out, it is time to make up my plan for the day. So I use my Golden Coil planner for basically everything. I start the day with a little bit of a reflection just to kind of brain dump. I don't do it every day, just on the days when I feel like I need it. And today I felt like I did. And then I go into my planner and try to set my priorities for the day. Every single day I pick 3 things that I want to focus on. That is the entire focus for the day. There may be other tasks that I would like to get to, but sometimes it's not always possible, and I just cut myself some slack. So I have this particular layout which has my schedule up here, to-do list, priorities, notes, intention, self-care. I don't typically use these bottom sections. I use the notes to write down my habits. So I'm gonna go ahead and write out my top 3 priorities for the day. And that is dissertation writing, the Life Productivity System course. I need to get the outline worked on, and then I have a meeting with Ali later today to begin just getting things sorted for when we need to film. Then thirdly, I need to film a video. So I need to film my PhD completion plan because I was meant to film it weeks ago. I tried and I hated how it turned out. So I am redoing it. Then in addition to that, I have some stuff for work. But my top 3 is not just my top 3 priorities for work, it's my top 3 priorities of the day, and my top 3 priorities are as stated, but I also have other things I need to do for work. So on the to-do list side of the page, I'm gonna go ahead and write down the things that I need to do for personal life, for accepted society, and for work. So I'm gonna go ahead, write those things out, and then probably get some food because I've only had my matcha this morning and it's about 11 o'clock. So time for a little breakfast. I'm really tempted to order food because every time my partner's out of the flat, for some reason, that is when my little goblin brain, as Katie likes to put it, decides that I really need takeout, but I'm going to try to just have some food from home. We might get takeout later today.
And now for a quick break to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is an online website builder where you can create and edit a website from scratch or using a template with no coding experience necessary. With features which allow you to customize fonts, colors, add a variety of blocks, images, and videos, you can make your website entirely your own. And after using Squarespace for 5 years to build my personal website, my online businesses, and recently having to create the Accepted Society website from scratch, I can say how easy Squarespace is to use and customize. With Squarespace, you have access to comprehensive analytics and e-commerce tools, making creating a website and starting your online business seamless. If you're interested in checking out Squarespace for yourself, go ahead and use my discount code in the description below for a discount on your website or domain. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead back on into the vlog.
I really feel like having French toast, except I think this bread has gone a little too hard. So, yogurt it is. The single serve faye that I asked for, and let's make a little like apple cinnamon moment. So, I love these single serve faye because they do last quite a while, and I'm also really bad about wasting food, and so when I get the big tub I always forget that I opened it, and so these work very well for me. The working day is going well so far. I have been really struggling recently with, honestly, I think like my mental health and just not having a lot of stability in my day-to-day. I have been traveling, to be honest, like too much for my liking. And I have one more really big trip next week and then no travel until the holidays. I didn't realize how much having routine makes such a big difference in my ability to manage the stress of working full-time, doing the PhD, and creating content. I just find it so difficult to manage my time and my energy and whatnot when I'm on the move. I really wish I didn't have so much travel right now. It's all great things, like it's such incredible opportunities, and the reason I have been able to travel so much is because, you know, my company has paid for me to go to Portugal, and I got to go to Spain with my partner, and this is not me complaining about having the opportunity to travel, it's just the need for there to be some stability, and that feels like it's lacking at the moment. And having a week at home right now is just such a godsend, except that I'm gonna have to leave next week to travel yet again. And younger me would be absolutely thrilled to know that we get to travel this much. But current me is just really missing being at home with my dog and my partner and just having just a little bit of routine again. And so that's something I'm really going to be focusing on in November once this bit of travel is over. Like, sort of comes down to boundaries and like when to say no, but at the same time, they're all opportunities that I want, and they're also opportunities that I can't necessarily turn down, nor do I want to. It's just honestly really destabilizing when working on the PhD. Like, I can do work while I travel, I can create content to an extent when I'm traveling, but I find it really difficult to manage the PhD and having the kind of intellectual energy to work on it when everything just feels like it's constantly on the move. So it's just been really nice to be home this week and have time with Moo and to just get projects done for work. I feel like I just need a little bit of time and space to get things managed. But it's been a good day. I've got my apple cinnamon yogurt with some pecans and got a little bit of maple syrup. Gio from work gave me this. I'm trying to be sparing with it, but I want to put it in everything because I just love maple syrup so much. And the maple syrup in this country, it ain't it. All right, let's go eat our breakfast at 11 a.m. and keep on chipping away at work. I caved and I did finish my yogurt, but it's only been about an hour and a half when I ordered food. I'm just so hungry. So I found a Ukrainian restaurant over in Stratford, and I've been looking for good Ukrainian spots in London because I had, what was it, Veselka in New York, and it was absolutely phenomenal. It was the best Ukrainian food I think I've ever had. And I am on the hunt. So if you know of any really good Ukrainian spots in London, please comment them below. I basically am done with the LPS course overview. I basically just need Ali's insight and approval in order to finalize things. He is meant to be joining the meeting that I have in about 10 minutes, but we'll see if he actually ends up making it. I think he has a meeting before this that is likely to run over, and he doesn't seem to have made any changes in the document, so we'll see. But that is now done. I need to do a little bit of an overview on the new onboarding sequences and also do a bit of research on Circle Plus. So as product manager, my responsibility is essentially making sure that the product is the best it can possibly be, and that requires me to do, you know, market analysis. We also think about how it is that we're onboarding students, communicating with students, and outlining the student journey as they're members within the community. Productivity Lab is very different than my experience building other communities. So I had a digital brand accelerator course that I led. That was a small group of about 30 people. I obviously co-own Accept Society with Kate, and that business has been around for a really long time. And the thing that's really unique about Acceptance Society is that we have people that have an identity with some kind of association to the academy. So we have independent researchers, we have students, we have professors, postdocs, etc. So basically anybody related to doing academic work. That's a much easier way to position and sell a product when you have a very clear audience. It's a little bit more challenging with Productivity Lab because it's really about giving people the space and the opportunity and the tools and support to take action on their goals. And the people that are the most successful within the community are those that come in with a relatively clear idea of what they want to take action on, but they've been procrastinating or they're really struggling with perfectionism. We offer them the space in order to, look at their progress over time, but also to join these co-working sessions and to make that progress every single day. And then I think what's really important about Productivity Lab that's very different than all the other co-working apps is that reflection and these accountability check-ins where you're actually looking at the progress that you are making and the progress that you were not making, that is built into the system. So we have these accountability check-ins on Fridays and on Sundays so that people can do that reflection exercise and also set up their goals for the week and things. This is something that I do every single week. On Sundays, I do a weekly reset. I have mine from this last Sunday. Basically, I do a little reflection on what worked, what didn't really work, how I'm feeling, and then I do a write down of my core memories from the week, my favorites from the week, as well as my goals for the following week. So this isn't necessarily the exact formula that we use for Productivity Lab. This is what I personally do for myself, but we have these accountability check-in, like reset sessions every week. And that is intended to help you, identify where it is that you can be making progress. Anywho, that was a very long-winded way of talking about my job. I'm really on the side of trying to make sure that the experience of the product is the best it could be and that the actual offer that we're putting out is something that's really attractive to people. It's been a really interesting ride, like developing a product that has a very different demographic. It's not that different, but because I have always built products for students and for non-traditional academics and independent researchers, the way that I would go about that is just very different than you would if you were trying to build more of a mass market consumer product. It's just been a fun, intellectual challenge, I suppose, or creative challenge. That's what's kind of nice about having a bit of the balance between the PhD, accepted, and my job. There is a fair amount of overlap, but it asks different things of my brain, and that is really exciting for somebody like myself who just cannot sit still. And I get really bored quite easily when I work on something for too long, and so I need to find different facets of it in order to keep interested, and that's what I really like about having so many things on my plate. It is very overwhelming and very stressful, but the positive side of that is that my brain is never left to feel bored, which is probably not the best thing, but I do create the time to, rest and just explore. Right now, I need my brain to do the best job it possibly can. So, food is meant to arrive soon-ish. My meeting's about to start, so I'm gonna jump on and see whether or not Ali is joining me for this one. I think that's my last call of the day. I do think I have a podcast interview or something this afternoon, but that's essentially the rest of the work that I have for today, and then I do need to film a YouTube video. We're making progress, slowly but surely.
And being able to say, hey look, productivity basically comes down to these two things, clarity and consistency. Do you have clarity in where you're actually trying to go, what your goals are, and do you have consistency in doing the sensible things it takes to get there?
All right. I am done with my meeting. Had a very good brainstorm session. Ali did in fact want to make some changes to the structure of the course. It's not monumental, but I just need to wrap my head around it. And I am feeling very drained. I have not actually taken a break at all today, so I am gonna go take a power nap. Just 30 minutes, just crash in bed for a little while so that I can regain some mental energy so I can rework this thing. I also need to do dissertation work after I finish up for the day before I have my podcast interview. First and foremost, I need to take a nap. So I'm gonna go take like a 25-minute nap and then come on back and film my video and then finish up stuff for work, get the course restructure sorted out-ish. I'll probably have to do a little bit more of it tomorrow, and then turn to working on my dissertation. So I will check in a little bit later on. I'm gonna go sleep. Okay, I didn't actually fall asleep, but I did lay there and close my eyes. But Moo was pretty insistent that she wanted attention. And now we are back. I have finished up the working day and just made a little bit of a plan for tomorrow. There's a lot that needs to be done to restructure the course. I did a little bit, but I feel like I just need a fresh sheet of paper and just kind of build it off from scratch again, and I'll do that before I have my meeting tomorrow afternoon. Now it is time to switch into dissertation work and film this video. These are the points of time when I start getting really annoying and antsy about filming, and I don't want to do it. That is one of the challenges. Every time my partner goes out of the house, I'm like, oh, this is my opportunity. I need to film things. But then I just kind of want to be in gremlin mode for the day and just not deal with anything. Maybe I'll film tomorrow. I should do it today, but honestly, like, I have this podcast recording. I just want to work on my dissertation. I don't wanna. So I'm not gonna. I guess that's my prerogative. It does need to be filmed probably the latest tomorrow, but it's okay. It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna prepare for the Accepted Society study session, or rather writing group, because as I said, Wednesdays are my days to work on dissertation stuff. So I booked my gym sessions like we put on the schedule this morning. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the books that I need. I'm gonna be looking at Holly Brewer's By Birth or Consent. There's a couple other books that I need to look at, and then I need to start writing. So I'm gonna spend the first 30 minutes of the writing group reading and just going through the literature, and then we will actually write, which is always the hardest part. I got words on the page. It ain't very many, but we're moving. We've got something. Basically, I've been working on the outline, and normally I am really fussy about the introductions of my papers. I've talked about this basically in every video where you see me writing a paper. I get really fussy about the introduction. However, because I really want a primary source anecdote to be the introduction, the way that I lead into this chapter, I am going to put it off and basically just put a blurb for my advisor saying that the introduction will come later. I basically just need to submit about 15-20 pages, or 10 or 15 pages, I can't remember what we agreed upon, but anyway, I need to basically send historiography, literature review, and the beginnings of the rough kind of structure of the chapter. At the moment, I have a general structure that was based on the work that I did in Oxford last weekend. So I'm starting with the kind of concept of childhood in the early modern period, or rather the lack thereof of a consideration of the concept of childhood, how that then ties into section 2, which is social status and how it's dependent on the condition of their parents or their lack of parents, for example. Then try to move on to what I'm calling the masterless generation. So what happens to destitute children that fall under poor relief? So they would end up at the care of the church warden and the local parish. Then from there, we know that a lot of these children entered apprenticeship contracts and had to perform certain types of labor for a set number of time or set number of years. And so then the next section will be labor performed. And then I want to discuss a little bit about how it is that race also plays a bit of a role, because you have essentially these 3 categories. So you have poor whites that are forced into these kind of forced labor conditions. You also have children that are imported from privateering missions that essentially loot enslaved people from Spanish ships that are part of the slave trade, and they end up back in England. So I have records of, for example, Mary Phyllis, who I talked about during my prospectus presentation. If you want to look at that, it's in one of my vlogs from when I was back at Yale in year 3. They essentially end up in the homes of these privateers who are also members of parliament and are being forced to perform certain types of domestic labor. This particular individual ends up actually leaving and becoming a seamstress as an adult. So I want to look at cases whereby, you know, Black children are brought into England and forced into labor, and then also look at the kind of social status and labor performed by Afro-English, Anglo-African, and Black children that are born in England. So we do have a variety of instances where there is actually a marked mixed race identification ascribed to a child that is born in England to either a single Black parent or more. Then by the end of the chapter, I kind of need to transition to talking about how it is that that then seeps into the colonial efforts of England and their kind of forced migration of children as indentured servants, which Leshua covers quite extensively. So I've got like the kind of rough outline of things. I am slowly kind of popping things in there and trying to get a good sketch of the historiography, which I'm not terribly familiar with. This is an entirely new section of the historiography, theoretically, that I am familiar with. I have done a lot in terms of, you know, Black feminist studies of the early modern period in the Black Atlantic. I've done a lot of work in kind of general legal histories of empire, legal histories of slavery. I've done a lot of studying of Virginia. Childhood studies is something that is newer to me, so it's a bit challenging to go in with this chapter just because I do have to familiarize myself so quickly. But I have a podcast interview now, so I have to head off and record that. And I don't know what time London Boy's getting home, so I'll probably just have more of my leftovers from lunch. After this interview, I'm just going to take the rest of the night off. I have been reading a book that I'm not going to talk about because I don't support the author, but it is nostalgic. And I have just been wanting to go back into some of the old books that I loved when I was a child, even if the author is highly problematic. So, anywho, I'm assuming that you can probably figure out who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say it because I don't support the author in the purchasing of the book. Sometimes you just need some nostalgia. So anyway, I'm about to be late, but now I have to go to my interview, so I'll see you guys in a minute.
First of all, welcome, Kaelyn, to the show.
Thanks for having me. I became financially independent and kind of professionally independent from that point forward, and ended up riding horses professionally full-time for 2 years before I started like getting a little bit of an inkling that, okay, I basically achieved the thing that I wanted to do since I was 5, and now what? All right, I just finished the interview. It went really well, and then I got a comment on YouTube asking if I could make more entrepreneurial content and talk a little bit about my journey to becoming an entrepreneur. But I don't know if people are interested in that. I know I got like one comment, but anytime I get one comment on something, I'm always a little skeptical of whether that's something that, you know, everybody wants, or if it's just one person wants that. So if you want entrepreneurial content, could you please comment below like what you want to see? Because I could do a video that's like, you know, how I built 3 successful businesses while in graduate school, but I don't know if there's like a specific video you'd want to see or anything like that. So if you could please comment below, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, I am gonna be done for the night. I am so tired. I feel like it was a good working day, but I don't want to push it and don't want to do more work, to be honest. So I'm gonna pull out my leftovers from my lunch earlier. Maybe watch a show or read my book on the couch with Pooch. Pooch is looking at me very intently. Hi. What's up? What's up? Somebody's very peppy. Oh, you need more food, that's why. She asked for dinner really earlier, and I couldn't say no to her, so I just gave her like half of her normal dinner. Every time I do a podcast interview, I am reminded that I once upon a time rode horses professionally. And I know I mention it all the time, but there's sometimes when it feels like life, like 11 years ago, just didn't happen. Does that make any sense? Like, it feels like it was somebody else's life that I'm somehow remembering. I'm just putting you on top of my kettle. And so I just don't associate those stories with myself because I feel so removed from it. Whereas, for example, like my time in Oxford feels, obviously it's more recent, but it also feels more in connection to what I'm doing right now. So it just feels more connected, I suppose. I don't know. But I just find it interesting when somebody asks you to essentially like connect the dots of your career and you realize that you've gone a million directions in the time that you've been on the planet. Like, I started my first business when I was 14. I had a horse treat company back when I was a teenager with my sister and my best friend. And I don't think I've ever talked about that on a video before, but every once in a while it'll come up in an interview and I'm like, wow, I can't believe that that was me. I am gonna take the rest of the evening to just chill out with Pooch. I have no idea when London Boy is coming home. So we're just gonna plan the evening without him and then get an early night. Feels really good because I have been going to bed a little bit later recently because I haven't been waking up as early, which has been fine because I've been sleeping in a little bit more, but it's been nice to get into bed early tonight and just read. So I'm gonna eat some food now. All right, it is now the evening. It is time to put on the reading glasses and get ready for bed. I've got my little book and we're just going to have a nice quiet evening. But thank you for joining for this little yappy, chatty day in my life. I really enjoyed just getting to talk about what's been on my mind recently. It was a really good day because it felt like it had a good balance. I got some work done on the dissertation. Work was good, made a lot of progress on the project for the course. Had some communication with my editor to get the videos sorted out for the next couple of days, and I didn't film, but I will do that tomorrow. And now I have time to actually wind down and chill out, and I'm getting a bunch of messages from Kayla, who's my manager. So I'm gonna go ahead and respond to these, read my book, wrap it up for tonight, and I will see you all in the next video. And thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this one. And I'll see you all later, friends. Bye!